says, I'm a paint the 2001 extended cab truck metallic gray. Should I walk the whole side or paint fender to door, then door to the end of the cab? So if you're doing basic standard metallics that you have mixed, a paint shop mixed up for you or whatever, you don't have to walk the side of the car. Just make sure you mix the paint really well, before you reduce it. So when you have a brand new can of base coat, you want to mix it really well before you reduce it and you put your reducers in it 1-to-1, right? Then you can go ahead and paint. And you don't have to do that with regular metallics. No need to worry about that. Just make sure when you're spraying to make sure you have proper lighting. Okay. And this is why the Gun Bud Ultra lighting system works so well. I'm going to actually send you guys a link to that because I use it for every single paint job that I do. Every single paint job, I have my Gun Bud strapped on to the spray cup, and it literally lights up the whole area. I can make sure I'm not getting any tiger stripes. I could make sure the paint is laying on nice, and it works really, really well. So check that out. Okay, Mohammed says, how do you be consistent with a curved hood like a Dodge Caravan? Metal shoots showing up after guide coat sanding. I'm scared to start piling up filler, primer, paste, or Bondo. Man, I'm having a very hard time understanding your question. If you want to rephrase that, how do you be consistent? Okay, so metal showing up after guide coat. Okay, so you're probably just going to want to shoot a sealer. You might want to use a 1K sealer. So it's okay if you have a little bit of metal showing or you're cutting through to the body filler or whatnot. All right. If you want to, you could spray like 2 or 3 heavy coats of 2K primer filler on top of all of that. Make sure it's thick. And then water sand that, block it out with 400 grit, and just be careful that you don't cut through. Then you should be good to paint. But if you're cutting through, you got a little bit of metal spots or whatnot, a very little bit of metal spots, like a size of a little quarter or a coin, you could base directly over it lightly and cover it. And I show you how to do that in my other videos and VIP and whatnot and some of the free trainings. So don't forget to head to learnautobodyandpaint.com to grab that free auto body training guide, as well as the videos, because we covered that. But if you want to seal everything, you could just use a 1K sealer right before you paint and just seal the whole hood, or you can just seal that area with a 1K sealer and then not sand it or anything, right? So I use Nason. It's a 1K sealer. I ran out. I don't have any anymore on my shelf. I'm trying to take a look. But a 1K sealer, you could just go over those metal spots a little, or the body filler spots or whatever, and then spray base coat right over that. So yeah. Or like I said, if you dust it, you could dust little parts of your base coat. Aiden says, I'm in California. It's getting cold. If I paint in the day when it's around 67 degrees, will it affect the paint job if it gets 50 degrees a few hours later? No, you should be fine. Okay, so if you're painting around 67, paint usually sets up in about an hour, and I don't think it's going to drop down to 50 within the hour. I would just time it out, if you could warm your shop up a little with a heater, warm it up, make sure your car's in there, make sure the car gets, to the temperature in the room, your ambient temperature, shoot it, and then you should have a couple of hours where it stays pretty consistent during midday, right? Because the temperature usually gets warm around noon, and then it'll stay pretty warm till 4 p.m., give or take, 3-4 p.m. And you should be fine. You should be fine. So try to time it out to where you got the warmest part of the day, do your paint job. It just needs an hour to set up. And then if it cools down after that, that's fine. I would make sure you're using a medium reducer. If it's cool out, I won't use a slow, I'll use medium. even for clear coats. But if you got like mid 70s to 80s, I like to use slow reducers so your clear coat flows out. Base coats, you can use medium throughout, all types of temperature ranges. But if you want to use slow base coats, I usually go with medium reducers. If it's cooler out or if it's warmer out, I'll still go medium. But the clear coat is where you want to use a lower temperature reducer or activator. So it has a chance to flow out. Clear coat. All right. Hopefully that helped you. Shooting this weekend. Man, that reminds me, I had a VIP sent me some pictures and I didn't have time to respond. I got to double check that. You know why Tamco recommend me to get the white primer? It is super hard on the eyes and trying to see if all the orange peels out. I'm not sure why they recommended white. Honestly, I never ever used a white primer in my whole entire lifetime after doing this for 25 years. Normally it's gray, a light gray, a gray, or a dark gray that I use. So I'm not sure why you got white. Maybe they just wanted to get rid of some inventory. I don't know. But maybe next time you want to get a gray, it's easier on the eyes when spraying. As far as the red and gray Scotch Brite pads, what grit of sandpaper are they equivalent to? The red ones are finer. The green ones are coarser. Probably, I would say like the green ones could probably be like a 320, I would think. The maroon ones can be 500 to 600, but I would never finish off any type of primer before paint with any of those Scotch Brite pads because the course is inconsistent. You're going to have, if you use the maroon, it could seem like a 500 to 600 grit, give or take, but there are coarse strands in there where you're going to get like a scratch in your primer. It's a very inconsistent way. The only time I would be using a Scotch Brite pad is absolutely necessary, maybe in door jams if you're doing single stage paint. Okay, single stage is a lot thicker and it will cover like little scratches that a maroon pad or a green pad would give you. And the only time I would use those pads if I'm doing an undercoating. So if I'm just scuffing up a back of a bed, a metal bed in a truck, then I'm going to put some thick liner on, like a Raptor liner or a can style rubberized undercoating, then I would use that. Other than that, I don't like it. So yeah. What grit to use when sanding plastic spoilers? It depends. Are you going to be finishing for painting or are you going to be priming on top of it? So if you're going to be priming on top of it, you could use 400, scuff it up, prime it, and then flatten it out again with 400 grit. And then you're good. Normally I just go with 400. That's my all around grit. If you want to go a little coarser where you have to flatten out some body work in the plastic or whatever, you can go to like a 320 if you want, and then 2K filler prime it, and then finish off at 400. Have you ever heard storing products in cans upside down, then turn upright, then mix them? No, I haven't. I just think that's a dumb idea because if they get caked up, the cake is going to be on the lid. Like, what's the difference? For me, I would rather just store it normally and then just mix up the paint when the caking is at the bottom. I don't know. I've never heard of it and I've never done it. Maybe you might want to try it, Jeff. Let me know if it works out well for you. Have you ever used TransStar paint? I have many, many years ago. Many years ago. I haven't recently, so I don't know the current mixing ratios, the new paints. I'm not sure. So let me know in the comment what's going on. Aiden said something here. I messed up on a part of a truck bed. I was planning on hitting with a DA 240 grit to knock down the orange peel, then hitting it with a 400 grit. What do you think? I think 240 is way too coarse, but you could try it. It might be okay. Try a 240 or 280. You might even get away with a 320 grit, but 240 seems a little rough. But you could try it because you can always cut down to 400, but just make sure your 400 grit cuts through the coarser grits and you end up with a final 400 grit before you paint. Okay, because if not, if you still have some of those remaining 240 grits under there, they might show up. They might, and they might not. Have a good evening and a good week. Talk to you soon.